Captain's log. Perhaps even the final log. I've thought about saying that numerous times over the last few years or so, but this time, I really believe what lies ahead is destined to make that call. This log, while acting as a status update, will also be dedicated to the valiant crew of the IZS Leviathan. Our own colonies, the closest thing we have to allies and even our own former enemies. And of course, to our dear empire, which we dedicated our lives to the powerful fist of the galaxy. Well, in our eyes anyway. The Imperial Zarkog Empire. In hope that this log will survive the carnage, I am basing the majority of it to the commendable service history of the Leviathan. So the legacy of the crew and perhaps the might of the Empire will live on in some way or another. Beginning now. I guess it would be more simple to go from the very beginning. Leviathan wasn't a flagship or anything much of a war hero in her early years, practically identical to the other 13 sister ships in the Stalos line. As for the design itself, while being in circulation for well over a decade, are still regarded as the pride and might of the Empire. Leviathan, like her sisters, was heavily armored and carries the biggest guns. The class, being the largest vessel ever put to service within the Imperial Zarko Navy, if you exclude the flagship, is the key in any battle group. Leviathan, being the 14th vessel built, was somewhat more up to date and has multiple advancements in a technical field when compared to her sisters, but regardless of her advantage, the entire line of these battleships are built to ruin those who stand in our way. As for the crew, many have had previous experience and consider the Leviathan far from their first voyage. In my case, this is also not my first command. However, it was my first time taking the big chair on a Stalos class. Late 2366, Leviathan would depart the Doria shipyards. There really isn't anything worth noting in 2366, as the galaxy was undergoing an era of peace. Leviathan mainly conducted patrol duties and training sessions. Nothing drastic, no engine room fires, catastrophic failures, or any stupid disciplinary situations. Thankfully. Actually, 2367 had something worth bringing up. Arden Prime, one of the Empire's distant colonies, quaint, well-run, and very hospitable. However, there were reports of an outbreak of a species of flora. I know, sounds stupid, but hear me out. With them came abnormal behavior among the population. At first it was the little things, but honestly, for only that, it wouldn't be worth bringing up. The Leviathan, alongside her sister ship Folklore, and a small task force would be sent to blockade the planet. An outbreak of feral behavior plunged the colony into chaos. Our orders, to ensure that no civilian craft enters or leaves the planet. Of course, our numbers were already limiting the capabilities, and Leviathan would often find herself acting as a screen all by herself. From orbit, we had no choice but to just watch. A cruel thing to do, but in the bigger picture, we must contain this behavior and prevent it from spreading to other worlds. This task, while monotonous, would soon have the crew on their heels. Our radar picked up a merchant vessel, far ahead on our course. She was lumbering away from the planet. No transponder or any signals coming from the vessel. Following standard protocol, we hailed the ship numerous times, closing the distance as we did so. However, we were met with silence and soon had to act. I ordered the Leviathan to be brought alongside the vessel. Numerous warning shots were fired in hopes of getting their attention. But still no response. The blockade was already thin enough, and we were risking an opening by pursuing the ship. We cannot allow that. Reluctantly, I had to call the order. It wasn't pretty destroying that ship. Leviathan would swiftly return to the task force and continue the blockade. We spent a total of 3 weeks in orbit. Leviathan hasn't had any interaction like that during that time. Unfortunately, our sister ship Folklore and W-77 did have to harass and put down another civilian craft. It was relieving when a science vessel arrived with an antidote to deal with the feral behavior among our people. Unfortunately, down below there was an estimate of 3,000 casualties. I have no further comments. Leviathan would soon return to our usual routine, but a sense of dread and anxiety was in all decks. I can see why. We just shot down our own people who were going mad, but